Brendan McPherson, I'd like to welcome you all to the commissioning of the cutter Pablo Valent. Military members, please remain covered and follow my lead for rendering honors throughout the ceremony. During the playing of our national anthem, guests not in uniform should stand facing the flag with your right hand over your heart. Veterans are invited to follow my lead in rendering hand salutes. If at any moment during the ceremony you need medical assistance, medical personnel are standing by ready to assist. The commissioning of a ship and placing her into active government service is one of the most important traditional milestones in the life of a cutter, as it represents the readiness of the cutter to conduct Coast Guard operations and marks her entry into active service. This time-honored tradition dates back to the commissioning of our first revenue cutter, the Massachusetts, launched in 1791. Since that date, hundreds of Coast Guard cutters have undergone this transition from a silent hull to a living cutter of the fleet. Our commissioning crew, hereafter known as plank owners, are in formation and ready to assume the watch. Prior to introducing our official party, I would like to acknowledge some distinguished guests joining us here today. I ask that you hold your applause until I've introduced all distinguished guests. Vice Admiral Howard Thorson, United States Coast Guard, retired. Rear Admiral William Merlin, United States Rear Admiral William Merlin, United States Coast Guard, retired. Rear Admiral Ron Silva, United States Rear Admiral Ron Silva, United States Coast Guard, retired. Rear Admiral Sidney Boyd Vaughn, Jr., United States Coast Guard, retired. Brigadier General Colin Howell, Royal Marines, retired. I would also like to welcome our state, county, and local partners from Florida, along with members of our volunteer Coast Guard auxiliaries. And finally, to the family and friends, Pablo crew. Thank you all for joining us. In addition, what you see here today would not have been possible without the generous contributions of the Commissioning Committee, comprised primarily of the Tampa Bay Navy League Council and our many supporters, to include Architecture, Saint Petersburg Innovation District, Tampa Bay Pilots, Marine Towing, Tampa Bay Spill Committee, Yacht Starship, Propeller Club Port Manatee, Coast Guard Foundation, Bollinger Shipyards LLC, L3 Harris Technologies, First Command, Stephen Cook, Navy Federal, Seabolt Towing, Gulf Marine Repair, Universal Environmental Solutions, Joseph Masiasik, Carl Cram, Chris Collins, Jason Apple, and others. Incredible support they have invested in this morning's ceremony, as well as the warm welcome they and many others have provided, has been second to none. Thank you. A quintet from the United States Coast Guard Band is providing today's ceremonial music. And finally, to the 20 family members of Pablo Valent who made the trip from Texas, thank you for joining on this momentous occasion. Gathered today to celebrate and honor Chief Boatswain Mate Pablo Valent and commission the cutter that carries his legacy into the 21st century. The cutter moored behind this stage is the 48th of her class and the first to carry the name Pablo Valent. The Sentinel-class cutters is the first class Coast Guard cutters to be named in honor of our enlisted Coast Guard heroes, including Pablo Valent, who we honor today. Ship's Company, attention. Already on stage is Chaplain Janet Clark, United States Navy, and Chaplain, United States Coast Guard Sector, St. Petersburg. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the arrival of the official party, and remain standing for the rendering of honors, the presentation of colors, and the flying of our national anthem and the invocation. Now, Master Chief Petty Officer of the Coast Guard retired, arriving. Now, Commissioning Committee Chairman, arriving. Now, Representative, Coast Guard Foundation, and L3 Harris Technologies, arriving. Now, Lieutenant, United States Coast Guard, arriving. Now, ship's long glass presenter, Coast Guard cutter Pablo Valent, arriving. Now, ship's sponsor, Coast Guard cutter Pablo Valent, arriving. Now, 7th District, arriving. Military personnel, hand, salute. Ready, 2. Color guard, present the colors. Hand, salute. Chaplain Clark will now deliver the invocation.
Let us pray. Almighty God, we thank you for your presence and ask your blessing, and to sanctify this space as sacred for sending forth this ship, her crew, and their families. We pray that every encounter in her life of service be in keeping with the sacrificial and courageous mission of maritime safety, security, and stewardship. Though she be made of steel, may those who serve aboard the Pablo Valent make her alive with a Coast Guard soul who embodies honor, respect, and devotion to duty. Watch over and protect everyone who serves on her and is served by her. In your name, amen.
Thank you, Chaplain. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Ship company, parade rest. It is my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Master Chief Petty Officer Charles Skip Bowen, the 10th Master Petty Officer of the Coast Guard and Vice President of Government Relations for Bollinger Shipyards.
Good morning. Rear Admiral McPherson, Captain Thompson, ship sponsor Ms. Cecilia Diak, Mr. Adolfo Garza, who is our long last presenter. I just wanted to make a point here real quick. The Valent family is very large, and I could tell you how large it is because pretty much, Pablo spent pretty much his entire career down there around the border in Brownsville, Texas. But there is actually a Valent family crew member that works at Bollinger Shipyards in Lockport, Louisiana, to help build this vessel, which I thought was pretty cool. That's the first. I've been to all 48 of these, and there's never been anything like that before. So congratulations to the Valent family. It's a pleasure to be with you here this morning in beautiful Saint Petersburg, Florida. On behalf of Ben Bordelon, Bollinger's President and CEO, and all of the men and women of Bollinger Shipyards, greetings from Cajun country. The Pablo Valent is the 171st vessel that Bollinger Shipyards has delivered to the Coast Guard in a 35-year period, and the 48th fast response cutter built under the current program. That will be a record that will go down in history, folks. That's never been done before. I don't think it will be done again. The Pablo Valent will join the Coast Guard's 7 districts fleet of 19 FRCs already operating in the southeastern U.S. and Caribbean region. In reference to the Valent, Ben Bordelon, who is our CEO, recently said, "We are incredibly proud that the FRC platform is a model program for government acquisition and has surpassed all historical quality benchmarks for vessels of this type and complexity. The results are in the detail and the continued early delivery of truly extraordinary Coast Guard cutters that will serve our nation for decades to come. The Bollinger team that built this vessel is second to none. I can say this with certainty, having almost 40 years of experience sailing on every Bollinger-built ships all over the world. In 2011, after almost a year of retirement from the Coast Guard, I was offered a position at Bollinger Shipyards working on the FRC program. Arriving in Louisiana, I found that many Bollinger team members that I remembered from visiting the shipyard decades prior were still there. And I discovered that this was not unusual. Father and son and grandson, husband and wife and cousins, generations of Bayou craftsmen that take pride in every facet of their work. Over 600 men and women from Lockport and the surrounding areas are dedicated to this project alone. They are artists in every sense of the word, and it shows in the construction of this vessel. After the ceremony, I hope you have a chance to tour the cutter. If you do, I would invite you to take a look at the details, because there's no other vessel in the world like this ship. and this amazing workforce brings it home with every delivery. Looking toward the future, the Bollinger team is proud to continue building vessels for the Coast Guard. Through this work, we can contribute directly to the security and defense of our nation, when we are up to the challenge. At this time, I would like to ask our cutter sponsor, Ms. Giat, to please join me at the podium. Ms. Giat, on behalf of Bollinger Shipyards, please accept this framed photograph of Pablo Valent as a token of our appreciation. Thank you again for the opportunity to be with you today to help celebrate the commissioning of this ship. And to the crew, fair winds and following seas. Where you are going, the winds and the seas can be rough, and I can attest to this personally. But know that you have the Bollinger team with you, because this vessel is built tough, Bollinger tough. God bless you in all your future journeys.
Thank you, Master Chief Bowen. It is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Skip Watunsky, the Commissioning Chairman of the Commissioning Committee.
Captain Pearson, Lieutenant Meyer, Cecilia Gaunt, distinguished guests, Captain Thompson, official bucket. I'm interested for this is today. For my 22 years in the Navy League, no one in the military can stretch a dollar farther than they can get 40 to 50 years out of their fleet long after the spells are getting fast response cutters, as the one behind me today, Admiral Valent. Not only do they serve the nation, but our area, Tampa Bay, is getting the first of several to be stationed at the Saint Pete sector. This means better protection in the Gulf of Mexico for rescue and protection. I've had some time with the crew. Plainville will be memorable time to their career, providing safety on the Gulf and beyond. As more ships patrol the area, the safer the seas, the Coast Guards that had our back, we became a nation. And we want to show that Tampa Bay has theirs. We want it to be a lifelong extended family member to those that have served. In Tampa Bay, we have around 400,000 veterans that have worn the flag, and we all thank you for your support. I thank the sponsors and the community who have reached out with open arms to welcome this new cutter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Watunsky. It is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Robert Montgomery, Director, Business Development, Integrated C5 Systems, L3Harris Technologies.
Good morning. So anyway, L3Harris Technologies provides the C4ISR for the ship, the command and control communication, the computers, the intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. Everything electronic that is on the ship is provided by L3Harris Technologies based on Keynote. It should be here. We feel we provide game-changing technology to these crews because they have a lot of various missions, a lot of important missions, and we give them operational advantages out in the field. One of the things that we try to do is produce a poster that commemorates the history of the ship's namesake. These posters you see here in front of you will be given out at the end of the ceremony and also during the reception, so please feel free to take as many as you want. And at this time I'd like to shift over to the Coast Guard Foundation. The Coast Guard Foundation provides relief and support for Coast Guard families, members, and their children. And at this time, I'd like to ask Lieutenant Bauer to join me on the stage. acknowledge a special couple that's in the audience today. Steve and Sheila Cook. Through the Coast Guard Foundation, Steve and Sheila have provided $5,000 more out funds for this cutters and 16 other fast response cutters that we've commissioned to date. Steve and Sheila, could you stand real quick and be recognized? Thank you very much. One last, I would like to recognize the spouses, significant others, parents of these crews. They go through a significant amount of training at the shipyard in Camden, where I reside, and other places to get trained up, and they're away from home for a long time, and as they get deployed, they'll continue to be away from home. And the families that support our men and women of the Coast Guard, can you stand to be recognized? Coast Guard Foundation and L3 Harris wish you all the very best. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Montgomery. It is now my honor and privilege to introduce Rear Admiral Brendan McPherson, Commander of the Coast Guard 7th District.
St. Petersburg, right? Yeah. Absolutely outstanding. We were just talking about, we may have to move the Coast Guard District Headquarters here to St. Petersburg. But it's my real pleasure to be here with all of you today as we celebrate this crew and this cutter and bring her into life as a operating cutter within the Coast Guard fleet. And so thank you, Ensign Brown, for your work in putting this together, along with our project officer. She's done a tremendous job, Lieutenant J.G. Cleveland. She's probably in the background there, but she has been working on this for weeks now. Thank you, Ms. Cleveland, for all that you've done. She's done such a great job. By the end of today, she'll be on a plane to the Bahamas on vacation. So I'd like to begin just by joining the MC and extending a very personal welcome to the many family, friends, and shipmates of the Pablo Valent that are here with us today, both in person and virtually. And we thank you all for being here. And especially to our ship sponsor, Ms. Cecilia Giat, and the entire extended Valent family that's here. There's 28 of you here today to help us commemorate this amazing event. And I don't know, they must have shut Texas down for today, right? So many of you here in our presence. But thank you for being here. It means a lot to the crew. It means a lot to our Coast Guard. So we thank you. To Captain Thompson, the Second Commander, and Commander Lansing, the Deputy, thank you for all that you've done to prepare for this event as you get to welcome this cutter as part of your assets and resources available to ensure the safety and security of our waterways and ports here in the St. Pete area, but also throughout the district. So thank you very much for that. So it's a great day to be here. It's a great day for the Coast Guard. It's a great day for the 7th District. Not only do we get the opportunity to commission the Coast Guard's 48th Fast Response Cutter, we also have the opportunity to honor Chief Petty Officer Pablo Valent's service to the United States Coast Guard and this great nation. And I think also now is a good time for me to just thank Bollinger Shipyard, L3 Communications, and all the others, the trades, the craftsmen that went into building one of these cutters. One of the most capable cutters we have in the fleet. So thank you, gentlemen, for the great work that you did in delivering this cutter. I'm very honored and pleased to be joined here by my wife, Barbara, and our 7th District Command Master Chief, CMC Aaron Zimmer. Couldn't think of a better way to spend our day than here welcoming the Pablo Valent into the Coast Guard 7th District fleet. Congratulations to Lieutenant Eli Maurer and the terrific pre-commissioning crew on successfully preparing Pablo Valent for this important milestone in the cutter's history of service to the United States Coast Guard. Congratulations. So as many of you know, we are naming our fast response cutters the Sentinel class of cutters after enlisted heroes. Heroes just like Chief Bosun Pablo Valent. Each commissioning ceremony provides the opportunity for us to tell their story, adding to the already rich history of those heroes, both officer and enlisted, that have gone before us. Chief's boatswain mate, Pablo Valent, came from Hispanic roots with Lone Star blood, having been born and completed the majority of his career in South Texas. Joining the Coast Guard at the age of 20 in 1912, he quickly wove himself into the fabric of Station Brazos, which is known today as Station South Padre Island. And in just 3 years at the station, Chief Valent advanced to #1 surfman, what we know better today as a first-class boatswain mate. And it was in September 1919 that BMC Valent, alongside fellow Hispanic surfmen Mariano Holland and Indalecio Lopez, embarked on a truly historic rescue that would define their careers. Now, if you ever sailed in the Gulf waters off the Texas coast, you know that they can be quite treacherous, sometimes described as a washing machine due to the short period of waves and the strong currents. Particularly difficult was the Brazos-Santiago Pass into South Padre Island and Port Isabel, especially back in 1919 when there were no jetties. So back to the story of Pablo Valent. A notorious Category 4 Florida Keys hurricane, which is what it was called, had already left a path of death and destruction in its wake throughout the Northern Caribbean and the Florida Keys, with its eyes set on South Texas. When all was said and done, it was ranked as one of the top 10 deadliest storms, leaving hundreds of mariners in peril. The schooner Cape Horn found itself battered by the storm and in need of assistance. The sailing vessel was tossed by huge breaking waves as far as the eye could see, and the bar to the Gulf was a cauldron of dangerous cross currents. Let me try to paint the picture for you. Here is 3 members of a crew, led by Chief Valent, facing undaunting conditions. High winds, treacherous seas, probably several times the length of the vessel that they were on. There was a watchman on shore who just happened to notice this schooner vessel was in trouble and in danger of sinking. That was a miracle in itself that he could even see it from that distance. So what did they do? They launched. If this were to occur today, we probably would launch a helicopter from a nearby air station and pluck those crew members off the ship one by one to bring them to safety. But that was not an option for BMC Valent and his crew. The 3 lifesavers, led by Chief Valent, braved hazardous conditions for 2 hours in their 36-foot motor lifeboat, relying on rowing oars and a very early version of the combustion engine. Once they got on scene, they were faced with almost impossible conditions. They had to approach the vessel that was nearly sunk at that time and pull each crew member off, 8 of them, one at a time. It was a long and difficult operation. Waves were sweeping over the deck, and the surfmen maneuvered the surf boat to the floundering vessel in the interval between each of the breakers. They could only rescue 1 survivor at a time. And now, with an overloaded surf boat, Chief Valent and his crew maneuvered toward shore, holding the boat steady in the seas. And miraculously, the surf boat was swept by a giant wave and put ashore, during which Valent and his crew kept the boat upright and all passengers and survivors inside. For his unusual heroism, Chief Petty Officer Valent was awarded one of the Coast Guard's highest awards, the Silver Life Saving Medal, along with the prestigious Grand Cross Medal from the American Cross of Honor Society. This rescue was just another day in the life of lifesavers such as Pablo Valent. And 16 years later, BMC Valent took command of Station Brazos, earning the honor of being our service's first Hispanic American to be the officer in charge of a rescue station. It was an incredible career and an incredible rescue. And that is Chief Boatswain Mate Pablo Valent's story. And he was a trailblazer in our service. 82 years after his retirement, the crew of Cutter Pablo Valent today will continue his trailblazing legacy, accomplishing many firsts of their own as they write their own story. Like Chief Valent, this crew, and future Coast Guard men and women that will serve upon this cutter will carry out incredible missions through adverse conditions at far away and exotic locations. But this cutter behind me, this 154 feet of steel and aluminum, with some of the most advanced and sophisticated communications, navigation, and weaponry our servant has to offer is more than just a ship to carry out our many vital Coast Guard missions. It is a floating leadership laboratory, a platform that will help shape the future of the Coast Guard and the men and women that sail upon her, both enlisted and officer, for years to come. Serving at sea is a unique and challenging experience. It is a place where enlisted personnel can sharpen their professional skills, broaden their leadership experience, and learn to overcome adversity, just as Pablo Valent did. Serving at sea requires initiative, ingenuity, and most importantly, teamwork. It is about the camaraderie that comes from shared experiences and working through adversity and living up to the responsibilities and expectations that define the term shipmate. It is about the willingness to sacrifice one's own needs and desires for the collective good and always working to leave your crew, your cutter, and your Coast Guard better than you found it. So this cutter will go on to join what will ultimately be a fleet of 64 fast response cutters, floating leadership labs across this nation and throughout the globe. As a young junior officer myself, I had the chance to serve aboard 2 other Bollinger-built coastal patrol boats. I was the executive officer of the Coast Guard cutter Nantucket in Puerto Rico, and the commanding officer of the Coast Guard cutter Baranoff, then in Miami. And I learned more about myself and leadership during those 2 assignments than I could have ever learned in a classroom. Faced with our own adversity across a broad range of missions, from counter-drug operations, mass migration operations, humanitarian assistance operations in the wake of several devastating hurricanes, I was challenged to lead a crew through long days and sleepless nights, while deployed far away from home. What got me through it was the strength and character of the crew and the extraordinary leadership of my chief petty officers, people just like BMC Pablo Valent. That was my story. The crew of Pablo Valent is already writing their own story, even before this official commissioning ceremony here today. At 8:30 p.m. on April 18th, while moored in Key West, Florida, Petty Officers Abate and Browder saw 2 vessels that appeared to be in distress. Springing into action, led by Petty Officer Kellogg, the cutter's small boat was launched with Petty Officers Laporte and Grossman serving as boat crew. Battling southwesterly winds of 22 knots and significant currents and waves, Petty Officer Kellogg maneuvered the cutter's small boat alongside the struggling rowboat in the harbor that had been battling the elements for over an hour trying to reach an anchored sail vessel. They escorted the 2 individuals safely back to their anchored sailboat. They then went on and turned their attention to the disabled pleasure craft, putting it in as a side tow and returning them safely to shore. The selfless, courageous actions of these Pablo Valent crew members exemplify BMC Valent's legacy and the cutter's motto of excellence through diversity. And this was just the beginning. The crew of cutter Valent have already established their legacy and leadership aboard other cutters in the fleet. While still at Bollinger shipyards under construction in Louisiana, Hurricane Ida swept through the Gulf region, inflicting catastrophic damage. This crew sprang into action, volunteering to serve aboard 7 other cutters and 1 small boat station throughout the Coast Guard, totaling more than 10,750 underway hours. Lieutenant Maurer, leading this crew will be no easy task for you. You yourself have been witness to the leadership laboratory that is a patrol boat during your time aboard the Winslow, Gressier, and Baranoff. And you demonstrated your character by volunteering to travel to Guam to be the acting commanding officer of Coast Guard cutter Frederick Hatch. Lieutenant, I expect you to lead this crew with the same dedication to duty that BMC Valent demonstrated more than 80 years ago, while ensuring your crew is highly proficient and professional, always remembering that we are public servants while striving to be the partner of choice and the world's best Coast Guard. While putting people first and mission always, ensure that you take care of yourself, your family, your shipmates and their families, and Pablo Valent. The men and women under your leadership are the best America has to offer. Let me say that again. Men and women under your leadership are the best America has to offer. friends and families and shipmates of Cutter Valent that are here with us this afternoon, words cannot express my deepest respect and admiration for all that you do to support our U.S. Coast Guard and the Coast Guard Cutter Valent. Even though our family members who are with us, and there are many, even though they have not raised their right hand and swore an oath like this crew did when they joined our service, you serve alongside our Coast Guard men and women just the same. Thank you for your service and sacrifice. And to our ship sponsor, Miss Cecilia Biag, it's been a great pleasure to know you and spend some time with you these last few days. Thank you for taking on this awesome responsibility. The crews assigned to Pablo Valent, both now and in the future, will look to you for both inspiration and motivation. Your name will be forever tied to this cutter, just as your great uncle's name is emblazoned on the stern of this ship. Thank you for your continuing service and support of our Coast Guard. To all our guests that are here today, thank you for taking time out of your busy day. I know it means a lot to our Coast Guard men and women. It means a lot to me. Thank you, and please continue to keep the Coast Guard in your thoughts and prayers. And finally, to the crew of the Pablo Valent, thank you for your hard work preparing this cutter for commissioning into service. All the blood, sweat, and tears that went into preparing this ship over the last year will come to fruition today as we commission this cutter into the United States Coast Guard service. Our Coast Guard men and women standing the watch today look forward to your service to our nation for decades to come. Cutter Pablo Valent, may you always have fair winds and following seas. Semper Paratus, and God bless our United States Coast Guard.
Thank you, Admiral McPherson. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, I invite Lieutenant Eli Maurer, Prospective Commanding Officer of Coast Guard Cutter Pablo Valent, to the podium. Ship's company, attention.
Admiral McPherson, I would be honored if you would join me at the podium to place Cutter Pablo Valent into commission.
Now, for the President of the United States, I hereby place United States Coast Guard Cutter Pablo Valent in commission. May God bless and guide this cutter and all who sail upon her.
Thank you, Admiral McPherson. Operations Officer, hoist the commissioning pennant.
Aye, aye, Captain. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. I direct your attention to the cutter as we hoist the commissioning pennant. BM-1 Dara and EM-2 Alire, hoist the commissioning pennant. Captain, the commissioning pennant is flying over United States Coast Guard Cutter Pablo Valent.
Very well.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Lieutenant Eli Maurer will now assume command. Attention to orders.
Admiral McPherson, if you could please join me center stage. I will now read my orders. From Commander, Coast Guard Personnel Command, to Lieutenant Eli Maurer, United States Coast Guard. Subject, official orders. When directed, proceed and report to pre-commissioning unit Pablo Valent for duties in conjunction with outfitting and delivery. Upon commissioning, Coast Guard Cutter Pablo Valent assumed duty as commanding officer. Rear Admiral McPherson, Coast Guard Cutter Pablo Valent is in commission, and I have assumed command.
Very well. Very good orders, Captain.
Operations Officer, set the first watch.
Aye, Captain. Mr. Adolfo Garza and BM1 Zachary Dara, I invite you both to please join me at the podium. The officer of the deck is the commanding officer's direct representative, and while on watch, is responsible for the safety and smooth operation of the ship and crew. The long glass is the traditional symbol of an officer of the deck's authority on a ship of the line. Today, Mr. Adolfo Garza, great-nephew of Pablo Valent, will assist in setting the first watch by passing the long glass to BM1 Zachary Dara. At this point, the officer of the deck will now bring the long glass to the bridge of the cutter. Petty Officer Dara has assumed the duties and responsibilities of the officer of the deck. Captain, the first watch is set.
Very well. We are honored to have Miss Cecilia Guillat, great niece and cutter sponsor of Pablo Valent, with us today. The notion of a cutter or ship sponsor is deeply rooted in naval tradition, with a woman selected for each new cutter based on its namesake or planned mission. Sponsors play an important role in the life of a new cutter, maintaining a relationship with the crew and participating in ceremonies such as this one today, and eventually decommissioning. Miss Cecilia Guillat, I would be honored if you would join me at the podium and give the order to the crew of our cutter to bring her to life.
Lieutenant Maurer, thank you for the kind introduction. Admiral McPherson, I thank you and the United States Coast Guard for granting me the sponsorship of the new high-tech Coast Guard cutter Pablo Valent, named in honor of my great uncle. This is a tremendous privilege for me, and I'm deeply honored to be representing the Valent family here today. I truly believe this is also so very special to my great uncle, and his spirit will be with his crew and all the crews which will serve aboard in the years to come. To everyone present, you have my sincerest thanks, and that of the entire Valent family for being here. Thank you all. Welcome, and thank you all. Also to family and friends who will be watching later through the magic of streaming technology and later via recording that is being made. To have my cousin Adolfo Garza Jr. taking part in this ceremony with me is very special. Thank you, Admiral McPherson, for your warm remarks about my great uncle's 28-year career. Yes, various branches of the Valent family tree have had members serving in the military, and we still are in our hearts and emotions very much military families. I can't stress enough that the U.S. Coast Guard was my great uncle's life. and he was so proud of the women and men he served with and the remarkable work that they performed daily. My great-uncle did not act alone during the remarkable rescue of the 8 crew members off the schooner Cape Horn. Therefore, I feel I am also representing my great-uncle's 6 shipmates who assisted him in the daring rescue in 1919. 2 of his shipmates, Surfman Mariano Holland and Indalecio Lopez, were from the Port Isabel, Brownsville, Texas area and still have family residing there. From all that I have read and the stories that have been handed down through the family over the years, the sea was such an important part of my great-uncle's life. He had a deep appreciation for the sea, both its tremendous beauty and its grave dangers. He also had such a caring for the well-being of his fellow man. And as Admiral McPherson described, Pablo Valent was quick to respond when others were in peril at sea and needed help. He was always so proud to be in his Coast Guard uniform, and that is evident by the photographs of him in his dress uniform, one of which is part of the L3 Harris poster you see on display here. I feel with all my heart and soul that my great-uncle would have been a perfect fit for today's U.S. Coast Guard. And if he were here today, I could very well see him standing tall and proud as a member of the Pablo Valent crew. Just as the Pablo Valent crew before you now, my great-uncle would have been beaming with great pride, ready to get underway on patrol to carry out the all-important work of the U.S. Coast Guard. The men and women of the Coast Guard have a long tradition of putting others before oneself. As I understand, the cutter Pablo Valent's motto, "Excellence through adversity," that appears as part of the cutter's coat of arms and crest, characterizes that dedication and professionalism of its crew to fulfill the rapid rescue and life-saving needs of military and civilians around the world, while paying tribute to the legacy and support of the United States Coast Guard. May God's guiding hand and special blessings be with Lieutenant Maurer and his crew as they accept charge of this new vessel and embark on their new assignments. I know my great-uncle will be looking down with pride each time the cutter Pablo Valent goes to sea to carry out important missions in the waters off the Texas coast and beyond. Lieutenant Maurer, please join me on the podium. Lieutenant Maurer, a special thanks to you and your crew for making me feel like family. Please accept this frame gift as a symbol of my sponsorship of the United States Coast Guard cutter Pablo Valent. I also want to thank all of the Coast Guard personnel, the commissioning committee chaired by Mr. Skip Butunsky, Tampa Bay Navy League, Bollinger Shipyards, L3 Harris Technologies, the Coast Guard Foundation, and so many others that worked so hard to make this ceremony so special, one that will be remembered forever. I can hear my great-uncle Valent saying, "A job well done." As I end my remarks, I must mention again how deeply touched I am to represent the Valent family here today, and all those back in Texas and elsewhere that were unable to join us. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Cutter Pablo Valent. Lay aboard and bring our cutter to life.
Thank you, Ms. Cecilia Guillat. Distinguished guests, please rise for the playing of Semper Paratus. Ship's company, hand salute. Captain, Mrs. Cecilia, the ship is manned and ready, brought to life.
Very well.
Ready to? Distinguished guests, please be seated. Lieutenant Maurer will now report for duty. Now, Rear Admiral McPherson will join Lieutenant Maurer to receive Pablo Valent for duty.
Operations officer, break the flag.
Aye, aye, Captain. Officer of the deck, break the Admiral's flag. Captain, the Admiral's flag is flying over Coast Guard cutter Pablo Valent.
Very well.
Distinguished guests, it is my pleasure to introduce Lieutenant Eli Maurer, Commanding Officer, Coast Guard cutter Pablo Valent. Ship's company, parade rest.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and similar to Admiral's beginning, couldn't ask for a better day for this commissioning ceremony. The sector here in Saint Petersburg is absolutely phenomenal. The backdrop along the water and the temperature here in Florida and Saint Petersburg has been second to none. I hope you all have noticed, especially starting yesterday, I can't get the smile off of my face. This ceremony and this to get Pablo Valent into operations. Even more so, last night was just an absolutely wonderful event. Having the opportunity to speak with all the distinguished guests and the 28 family members representing Pablo Valent here in Florida today. I told myself I will make my comments relatively short. I know everybody's excited to get on board, and we cannot wait to have you. But I must start by going down my list of thank yous, because there are several people and organizations who have greatly assisted Valent to where she is today. First, Lieutenant Junior Grade Angela Cleveland. She is back there in the back left, but she, again, as mentioned throughout the last couple of days, has done an absolutely phenomenal job. The commissioning booklets that hopefully everybody has in their hand, if not, we can get you one. That was a last-minute item that we had a mistake that ran through, nothing on our end, but she tracked that all the way to this morning and got them. Saw the FedEx truck pull in around 0900 this morning, quickly rushed over there, got them to make sure they were available for all of you guys today. So, Ms. Cleveland, thank you so much for your involvement with this. Now, Mr. Skip Witomski, as the chairman of the commissioning committee, I want to thank you for your consistent display of pride and professionalism. Last night, event put on by yourself, the Navy League Council, and several other platinum, gold, and silver sponsorships was incredible. Definitely a highlight, no doubt about it, a highlight in my short career, and I don't think it'll be a night that many people will forget, so thank you. To Master Chief Bowen as Vice President of Government Relations for Ballinger Shipyards, and Mr. Robert Montgomery with L3 Harris, thank you for yet again delivering another asset of the highest quality to the Coast Guard. As the 48th Sentinel class cutter to undergo this process, it is evident that any previous wrinkles have been ironed out. I can promise you that with these plank owners behind me, Valent is in great hands. Captain Grant, retired captain who's unable to be here today, he has been with this process from the very beginning, one of the first members to reach out to me, and I'm sure with Ms. Guillot as well, Mr. Adolfo Garza as his selection for both the sponsor and the long glass presenter. But he is with this process from the very beginning. He's not able to attend here today, but without him, this process would not be what it is without him. Admiral McPherson, to yourself and your staff, thank you for taking the time out of your very busy schedules to show appreciation into a special ceremony like this. Knowing how busy District 7 has been this fiscal year particularly, I think I speak for the Valent family when I say thank you for your attendance this morning. To the Coast Guard Foundation, CG 9324, Pro Lockport, Mr. Alan Hart, and Sector Saint Petersburg Command and Staff, thank you all for your continued support in preparing Valent and her crew for operations. Before I move forward too, I'd like to give a quick shout out to my parents. My parents flew in from Ohio yesterday. Since I graduated from the Academy in 2016, my first duty station was in Florida. And after that, I seem to be moving further and further away from home, which I know is hard for them. With a tour in Puerto Rico and then a tour in Bahrain. I am lucky to be back here in Florida, but today is the first time my parents will be seeing a Coast Guard cutter as well, so this is a very special moment for myself and my family, and we're able to share this with all of you guys today. So, love you both. Thank you for both attending. To the crew, ops standing over here to the right, and the 19 men and women standing behind me on board the cutter. Thank you for everything you do on a daily basis. I have chose to continue to go to sea and will continue choosing to go to sea because of the people. The people out on the water where we have an opportunity to assist or save, and the people I get to work alongside every day. You've all been nothing short of phenomenal from the very beginning. As Admiral highlighted, I'll kind of brief it up a little bit, but yes, when Hurricane Ida made its impacts there the first week of September, we were all at a little bit of a standstill in regards to what our timeline actually looked like. The original timeline was that Valent would be in commission active duty status in February or March timeframe. Once Hurricane Ida made a direct impact in Port Fourchon, there was a lot of unknowns, a lot of conference calls taking place, and we did not know what our timeline really looked at. The delays were anywhere from 3 months to possibly a year. But with the tremendous efforts of Ballinger Shipyards and getting it back up and running again after another Category 4 hurricane had barreled through there, we were able to expedite that with just a 6-week delay. So again, that's a tremendous effort from the Ballinger Shipyards and their staff getting that back up and running. But as Admiral mentioned, the crew behind me was quick to respond in any form of capacity they could to help out the Coast Guard. several assets. There were a few 87s that were impacted by the hurricane and had to do a home port shift and allow the other families to get their lives kind of in order with their families. And we had several members quickly respond to go TDY and help out those crews so they could assist with their personal matters. And then several supporting subunits here at Sector St. Petersburg. The crew was very quick to support. Over 10,000 hours of TDY support assisted, several troubleshooting casualty safety sale items that this crew behind me was able to combat and correct efficiently to ensure that these assets remained operational while we awaited our own. To the families, wife, daughter, and family, thank you. As Mr. Montgomery spoke yesterday, and as Admiral today, you guys do not take the oath. However, you guys all make the same, if not more, of a sacrifice. I truly appreciate and understand the concept of being a family, and I treat my crews as such. After we were separated from Sector St. Petersburg and family for roughly 13 weeks, our 6 weeks of training in Pro Lockport, and then our 7 weeks of training down in Key West, it was a phenomenal sight to see the amount of support here, both from the Sector St. Petersburg staff and the pouring support from the families as we came in our first arrival into home port of St. Petersburg last Sunday on May 1st. I know there's a lot of talks as we were coming in. There's something always going on in St. Petersburg. So there was a marathon taking place downtown St. Pete that I know delayed some folks getting in here, but to see us approaching the pier, to see the families and the kids come out with the signs, that's something I love seeing, and I truly appreciate your guys' support you give both me and to the Coast Guard. And now, most importantly, for this day, who is truly full, to Pablo Valent and the 28 family members joining us today, and to hopefully the many, many others joining us online. Pablo Valent, seen as an uncle, great-uncle, grandfather, or great-grandfather to some, seen as a hero to all here today. Speaking with family yesterday, Valent's heroic acts did not seem to be uncommon for him. He was involved in many displays of great heroism and courage, but most notably during his rescue of the 8 individuals off the shooter Cape Horn, while battling the environmental conditions of the Category 4 hurricane. This one of many acts it symbolically seen our unit's crest, and was developed by our own crew member, BM1 Logan Kellogg. This crest the unit wears proudly on our shirts, our hoodies, and displayed throughout the cutter will always serve as a reminder to those who serve on board to excel through adversity, our ship's motto, to overcome challenges as a team, and to always be ready to assist when called. Again, this day is for you all. I am joined by Ms. Cecilia Guillat and Mr. Adolfo Garza on stage currently, but I believe I spoke and took many photos with the other 26 members of this family. Happy to be in today. I remember to know that my family is tired, and I feel like I'm able to build this special relationship with you all moving forward. I cannot wait for you all to see the beautiful cover immediately concluded from this ceremony. That being said, with our cover sponsor, Mrs. Guillat, please join me at the podium. Ms. Cecilia Guillat, on behalf of the officers and crew of the Coast Guard cutter Pablo Valent, I present to you this gift in appreciation of your support.
Distinguished guests, please rise as Chaplain Clark delivers the benediction.
Let us pray. Lord, as we depart, we leave the Pablo Valent, her crew, and her family squarely in the palm of your hands. God, we ask that she be able to sail through adversity, but also everyone who is associated with her to be able to do so as well. Be with those who are traveling back to their homes, and as we report back for duty, we ask that you would bless all of Sector St. Petersburg and all of District 7. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain Clark. Distinguished guests, this concludes today's ceremony. The official party will remain on stage for ceremonial photos. You are now cordially invited to a reception hosted by the Commissioning Committee, Tampa Bay Navy League Council, Bollinger Shipyards, L3 Harris Technologies, and a number of other generous donors. The reception will be adjacent to this tent. Please allow 5 minutes for staff to set up the tables. Tours of the cutter will begin shortly and will be offered on a first-come, first-served basis until 1300. On behalf of Rear Admiral McPherson and the officers and crew of the Coast Guard cutter Pablo Valent, thank you for your attendance today. Ship's Company, dismissed.